Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. This, the SuperMeteor 650. A few years ago, Bajaj made a series of commercials mocking Enfield for being an elephant. And I guess Enfield have answered that joke in the best way possible. They actually took it a bit too seriously, creating an even bigger, heavier and bulkier machine. To top it all up, they added the adjective super to ensure that everybody, Bajaj included, understood that Enfield now have the biggest and baddest motorcycle in India. But this isn't just any elephant. It's a royal one, built to make you feel like a king. It's fit for a Maharaja with all the embellishments and jewels. It's a head turner, it's premium, and it defines how the India motorcycle culture has moved on from its very first cruiser, which was also made by RE. This by miles is the most premium motorcycle made by an Indian brand. And it's not shying away from it either. I have ridden this bike for about 2 months, making this my daily ride. Here are a few things that I love about it. First is the looks. This is a beautiful motorcycle. Now you may not be into cruisers, but you will still look twice when you see this machine. It's got the perfect cruiser stance, right from the beginning all the way to the very end. This looks, feels and smells like a proper cruiser. Within the global cruisers, this one will definitely carve its own niche. It's like an old school cruiser with all the modern touches, making it the perfect cruiser for today's world. Finish. A big hidden part of any aesthetic lie in the details, and this bike has plenty of them. For a first, these toggle switches are made out of aluminium, and the plastic used on them is extremely premium. The quality of the paint, the lights, every tiny detail seems to have been thought of. The upside down forks give this bike a bulky look, setting it apart. The tripper is a very nice touch. It's the first time I've ever used it on a motorcycle, and it's a pretty handy accessory. It's right in front of you, and given the constraints on the motorcycle, it's pretty easy to read. I've never really been a fan of those handlebar mounted phone mounts for two particular reasons. One, it pops and compromises the look of the motorcycle. And two, your phone is always exposed to all the dust, vibrations and the weather. But if you have an Enfield, the tripper is a really good option to have. The forward foot pegs and the seat make for a really decent riding position. Now, I'm not a big fan of this forward riding position, but they aren't too far off. Of course, you lose a bit of control, but I can understand why they've done it. They wanted to give you that big, bad, mile crunching cruiser vibe, which this riding position gives. I also like that they've given this mounting position in the middle, which does make it possible to move those foot pegs out here. Now, I don't think RE with all the bikes that they're building have the time to do that, but it gives a lot of people like us to build parts for these motorcycles. The weight. Now this is a heavy motorcycle, but cruisers are heavy, at least the really serious ones. Cruisers are supposed to give you the confidence on the highway, and weight plays a big part in that. Lighter motorcycles, if built in this proportion, will sway on straight roads. Take for example, Enfield's very own Meteor. Now it's a nice motorcycle for everyday cruising, for the cities, but on the highway, it does feel like it's lacking a bit. This motorcycle, on the other hand, will feel really nice on the straight highways. Which motorcycle do we like more? Well, that's a topic for another video. Now for the size, this is not a particularly hot engine. Of course, heat resistance is relative, but given the way how the Interceptor behaved, I was expecting it to be a lot hotter. When I look at this bike, it's begging to be customized. Of course, it looks great in stock, but it has so much opportunity to become so much more. You can make it a highway cruiser, a badass bobber. You can slap on some beach bars, put on some spokes and make it look like this heritage, old school motorcycle. You can make it a chopper if you want. and just about everything in between. We plan to do a few things on this motorcycle, and this is probably the last time you are seeing this in stock condition. Of course, it's not all rosy on this motorcycle, and there are things we abhor about it. And we did expect RE to do better. It's not a deal breaker, but it would have made this motorcycle unbeatable. The obvious are these rear shocks. Now, given the position that you sit on it like this, your back takes a lot of strain. It's probably one of those areas where RE seem to have cut corners. This is also one of those points which will turn away a lot of potential buyers. A few things on this otherwise perfectly designed motorcycle seem to have been done in a hurry. Now, when you remove this rear seat, there is a bump on the rear fender. It's not a big deal, but if you want to use it as a single seater, that bump is a bit of an eyesore. I'm not a big fan of this front console. Practically, it does its duty, but aesthetically, it just isn't pleasing. They seem to have been acquired from two different suppliers and hence have two different backlights, two different fonts, two different numericals. And it's annoying to know that Enfield's been doing this for years and nobody at Enfield has pointed it out. The tires are slippery, and I mean really slippery. A bit of gravel and you will start losing control. For a country like India, I think Enfield should have really thought about it. RE really wanted to go clean on this motorcycle, and they removed the luggage mount that would otherwise be on every other motorcycle. What it means is that you have to get an aftermarket thing if you have to mount any sort of luggage on it. For a cruiser, not having the option to mount your own luggage on a motorcycle is a bit of an irony. We've been experimenting with this motorcycle for about 2 months now, and you want to take it apart and build a proper cruiser. That's a different video series, and if you want to follow that, you may want to subscribe to our channel. We'd also love to hear how we should go about building it.